Okay, hi and welcome. This is Greg Justice, and I'm here with a very special guest today, Tamilee Webb. And let me just give you a brief introduction of Tamilee. Most of you in the fitness industry will already know her, but if you don't, I'll just give you a brief background. She's a best-selling author of 4 books. She has co-hosted or hosted TV shows on the Fit TV network, ESPN, Fox Sports, on and on. But she's probably best known for her Buns of Steel series, which actually sold more than 10 million copies. And she was inducted into the National Fitness Hall of Fame in 2008. So thank you very much for joining me today, Kathy Lee. I almost called you Kathy Lee. I apologize.
It's okay. That's
Lee. Tamilee. I know Kathy Lee and I know Tamilee,
yeah.
But this is Tamilee Webb, and thank you, Tamilee, for joining me.
Oh, it is an honor to be a part of this. Are you kidding? This is like one of the biggest honors when somebody asks you about someone like Jack, because he is, like we have said, he is the father of fitness. This is where it all started from. Right. So yeah.
Well, that's great. Well, like you said, we are here to honor Jack LaLanne and talk about his legacy. And let me just start by asking you where you first met Jack and what that experience was like and how it impacted your life, your career.
Well, I would have to say the first time that I remember meeting Jack was, well, not in person, but seeing him on television, because my mom used to work out with him. And I would see this guy in this jumpsuit, doing jumping jacks and toe touches. And I mean, he just kept going. I'd watch my mom. I thought, wow, that kind of looks fun. But when I first met Jack in person was in San Francisco. Unfortunately, I can't remember the exact date, but it was early on in my career, and it's actually pre-Buns of Steel. Mm-hmm. So I was just then kind of teaching, doing presentations, going around the world, training instructors, and there was a big fitness event in San Francisco, and I remember getting on stage, and he's standing there, and I was in awe. I was like, oh my God, I've made it. I'm in the presence. I'm standing on the same stage. I'm sharing a stage with Jack LaLanne, the father of fitness. And that to me was it was breathtaking because I grew up watching him. I never thought that I would ever come across to meeting him. And now we were both on the stage. And I was a little nervous, and he calmed me. He was like my father. He just told me how it's done. He got up there and he made everybody feel comfortable. So that was the first time I met him.
Uh-huh. Well, do you have any other stories that you'd like to share about Jack?
Well, so I think the funniest story that I have of Jack was when we being Jake, Body by Jake, mm-hmm. Kathy Smith, Richard Simmons, myself, and Jack. And we were talking about possibly putting together a restaurant called Planet Fitness. And this was the time, remember when Planet Hollywood came out, sure. And was all, sure. Okay, so we thought, wow, maybe this is a way to bring healthy foods to people. And right. So we had all met in LA. And okay, so when you get us 5 together, there's always going to be someone that wants to stand out, which was Richard, but also Jack. And we're trying to get the meeting going, but Richard and Jack, it was almost like, well, look what I can do. Well, look what I can do. Look what I can do. And I look over, and Jack is doing full-on tricep dips with his legs straight out. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I remember Jake going, okay, it's time for us to start this meeting. Let's all sit in our chairs and have this meeting. And I was a little disappointed that it didn't go forward, because I thought it was a lot of fun getting together with your peers and sure. people that you respect and admire. But, back then, we were told people were not going to buy healthy food. Look at us today. Right?
Exactly. Yes,
Yeah.
everywhere. Well, and it's funny when you said Planet Fitness, I'm thinking that sounds so like it's out there. And it's the brand Planet Fitness, the gyms now. It's like, oh yeah,
Yeah. We
they
just
do
our
exist.
gyms, and I mean,
Yeah.
it kind of set a little trend, but
Right.
yeah, that would have been fun. But that to me was just a crack up
That is
between
funny.
him and Richard, and
Yes.
Jack was all, his whole thing is strength. And I'm looking at him, and I think even then he must have been in his, I want to say 70s.
Right. That sounds
And
right.
here
Yep.
he is straight up doing his triceps, his legs
Yeah.
straight out. Now, do you know how hard that is?
Oh goodness. Yeah. Well,
Extremely hard.
yeah, no one was going to upstage Jack.
No one was upstaging him or strength, which
Right.
Richard wasn't going to do
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah.
But I was just like, wow.
Yes.
It's
That's
pretty
awesome.
amazing that he can do that. And I thought, I really hope that I can do that at his age.
Yes.
And it wasn't that long ago. In fact, I think it was only a couple years ago, because I still get to see Elaine.
Right.
And so at IDEA, she was up on stage with Jane, and she drops down and she does these push-ups. And
Right.
Elaine we can say is no spring chicken. Oh, let me tell you, she can go around the block a couple times on almost anybody.
Right.
And that's the thing that I feel like they are role models for us. They have set the stage. They set the foundation.
Yes.
Because remember, in our industry, there really wasn't an industry. And Jack really brought that forward he was so forward thinking. And remember, he's a man trying to get women to exercise, and they did this in their home.
Right.
And then, so he is, if you don't know Jack, shame on you if you're in the fitness industry, because he is the foundation that set it in place to bring the rest of us up.
I couldn't have said it any better, and you're absolutely right. And one of my favorite stories to tell in that same regard is with Elaine. Were you at her were you at her induction ceremony for the National Fitness Hall of Fame?
I wasn't.
Okay.
I could make it that year, because hers was
2017.
17?
17, yes, just 3 years ago, or 2.5 years ago. Yeah,
I think that's the first year that I didn't make it.
Okay, well, it was so cool because after her speech, she stepped to the side of the podium, kicked her shoes off, jumped off the stage. To a collective gasp in the audience, she landed like a butterfly and dropped and did 15 push-ups. So much like amazing. What you just explained, and that was just a couple of years, two or 3 years ago. So I know she still got it.
Yeah, she does.
She still got it. Well, that's awesome. Well, let me ask you this, Tamilee. What would you say Jack's legacy is?
Well, it's a lot of what I kind of already said. I mean, we know as far as I'm concerned, he's the father of fitness. He kind of started it all. Right. He pioneered, he built the foundation, and he comes across as he wants to inspire everybody. So he wasn't just, here he had the first fitness show. He even did bodybuilding. I mean, there's so many great things about Jack, and he was very funny about when he would speak about certain things. I think one of his favorite quotes that I like to remember is the one where he was talking nutrition. If man made it, don't eat it. And if it tastes good, spit it out, right?
Yes, I've got the postcards of all of his quotes.
I love it.
So, yes,
where do I get those? I'm all about quotes, and he just has a way of communicating what his passion was. Yes. Besides showing it physically. He was a great speaker, motivator. I mean, he just inspired, and his legacy really should be that he is the father of fitness. He built the foundation. He set it forward. He broke down barriers for all of us. Right. I mean, I didn't realize, like when I did Buns of Steel, we did the first fitness infomercial. And I didn't know that. I'm like, what? You know, now there's a million infomercials, but there, you just never know what it took that long to do it. Where Jack, so this was back in the 50s, the late 50s, right?
He started his show in 1950, was it 3?
Was it?
He did 33 years and ended, I think, in 1983. It may have been 51
Yeah,
somewhere, or 52. So, yeah.
Somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Yep. So that was, and Jack and I are both Libras.
Okay.
He was born in September.
Yep.
26, and I'm September 28th.
Right.
And yeah, because I remember I think he was on television like in 56 or 7.
Oh, he would have definitely been on in 56 and 7. Yes. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and that is a really long time.
Oh, yes.
So I mean, other than that, was there other fitness workouts on? I didn't see any.
He pioneered he was the very first to have a fitness show.
Fitness show, video.
I mean,
he had those stretchy cords.
Stretch-o-matic or set-o-matic. Set-o-matic, wasn't that what it was called? Or something like that.
It could have been. And then it was, I mean, he had I think that his first video was it Glamour Stretcher? And it was the stretching things.
Okay. Oh, I know what
isn't it?
I may have those right here, actually. Let's see. I've got his, the Back to Basics, Forever Young.
Yes, Forever Young. That is
the whole
awesome.
series. Yeah, I've got the whole series. So full body audio.
That's great.
Yeah.
And we probably will never see DVDs again either, because we've gone from, well, probably when he did it, it was what do you call those, records?
Yeah,
Kathy Smith had one too. I think her first one was record.
Exactly. And that, it's just amazing, the evolution. Now everyone is streaming everything. Let me ask you before I forget, what year did you do that the first Buns of Steel? Was that 80?
The first one that I did was 89.
89, okay. Okay.
But I don't know if it was released in 89 or 90, but it was through the 90s that we did, most of it.
Exactly. Yeah, and that was kind of the heyday of the fitness VCR, DVD kind of revolution.
Yeah, but
you were
so
right there.
Remember, that was the time, and this was, Jack didn't even have this at that time. Mm-hmm. It was when videos were sold through a catalog that you would get in the mail.
Right.
Remember?
Yes.
You get a catalog in the mail, and you'd have special interests, and it would be fitness. So we didn't even have the mom and pop stores.
Right.
And then, of course, Blockbuster came in and all these others, and then the mom and pops folded, and now, I mean, it continues to evolve because of our digital tech world.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, now who needs a DVD? Everything's streaming.
They're antiques, but they're good collectibles. I'm going to hang on to them.
Yeah, that's what
so
I'm going to cook for myself. Antique, but yeah.
But hang on. Well, let me ask you one more question as we wrap this up. If there were 3 words to describe Jack, what would those 3 words be?
It's hard to keep it to 3 words because, I mean, if you're talking about, what he stands for, which we've already discussed and said is, the Godfather, the pioneer, the one who broke down the walls for all of us. But when I think about Jack, I always think that his inspiration, how he inspired us. Mm-hmm. So he inspired constantly. His strength, not only physically, but his mental strength.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Because I talk a lot sometimes in my workshops about, yes, we have the physical body, but there's the emotional body, the mental body. And I think he had a good balance between all of them. So yes, he could show his strength, but at the same time, his mental awareness, his emotional ability, everything was balanced. One wasn't out of whack. at least he never showed any of that.
Right.
So, and then, you know, his persistence of anything, when he says, I'm going to do this, he's going to do it.
Yes.
And I didn't realize this until probably a couple months ago, what abracadabra means. So abracadabra is what you think and what you say you do. And that was Jack.
I didn't know that.
If Jack, I didn't either. If Jack said, I'm going to swim across the, you know, Pacific Ocean and I'm going to pull this boat, he will do it because he's not only, he knows physically, but he's got the mental and the emotional component to do that.
Right, the mindset.
So I guess I've gone on and on more about the 3 words, but yeah.
And what's interesting, Tamilee, is when you said persistence, that has been the one common denominator that virtually every person I've interviewed has used, that persistence. And that sums up Jack LaLanne. I mean, he was persistent in his mission to share and spread the gospel of fitness to the world. And now his wife Elaine is continuing that legacy. And I think that really perfectly sums it up. So thank you very much for all of that.
Pleasure. Always happy to talk about Jack and Elaine.